Harold sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from him. The morning light poured in through the curtains, revealing the dust particles dancing in the air like tiny ghosts of the past. It had been 2 years since Miriam passed, and while he had made it through the worst of the grief, the loneliness remained, not loud, but constant, like a low hum in the background of his days. He had never imagined spending this chapter of life alone. They had made plans for retirement, road trips, Sunday dinners with grandkids, quiet evenings reading side by side. But plans don't always survive reality. His children lived hours away, and though they called and visited when they could, the house mostly echoed with silence now. One cold Monday morning, Harold sat with his coffee and realized something had to change. He wasn't dying, but he wasn't really living either. He missed feeling useful. He missed feeling strong. Not in the physical sense, but inside, where it mattered. That day he made a promise to himself, I'm going to take my life back. He didn't expect miracles. He just started small. The first thing he did was move his body. Harold remembered a piece of advice he once heard. Motion is emotion. He didn't want to join a gym or train for a marathon. He just wanted to feel a bit more alive. So he began with a walk around the block. The first time, he got winded halfway through and had to sit on someone's garden wall to catch his breath. But the next day, he did it again and again. By the second week, he noticed the daffodils blooming. By the third, he waved at the mail carrier and exchanged a good morning. His steps grew steadier. The fresh air did more than clear his lungs, it cleared his mind. He realized that moving forward, literally and emotionally, often started with just that, moving. The second thing he did was learn something new. Harold had always admired woodworkers. There was something noble about shaping a raw block of wood into something useful. One day he found a flyer at the library for a beginner's class. He almost tossed it, told himself he was too old, too clumsy, but instead he signed up. At the first class, surrounded by strangers decades younger than him, he fumbled and felt foolish. But the instructor was kind, and the tools in his hands brought back a long-lost sense of creation. His hands shook less with each session. He learned to carve, to sand, to shape, and slowly, without realizing it, he started shaping his own spirit again, too. The third thing he did was reconnect. There was a box of old letters in the closet, filled with names he hadn't spoken in years, college friends, army buddies, even his cousin Janice, whom he drifted from after a silly disagreement decades ago. One afternoon, he sat down with pen and paper, no emails, no texts, and wrote to her. Dear Janice, I was thinking about that summer we spent at the lake. I miss those days, and I miss you. Life's too short to stay distant. If you're open to it, I'd love to catch up. He mailed 3 letters that day. 2 weeks later, one came back, from Janice. It was full of warmth, apology, and memories. She even included an old photo. Harold held it in his hands like a gift. Reconnection wasn't about returning to the past. It was about honoring it while building something new. The fourth thing he did was volunteer. There was a small animal shelter nearby, always in need of help. Harold wasn't looking to adopt a dog. He didn't think he could handle responsibility full time, but when he saw a notice asking for someone to walk the older dogs a few mornings a week, he called. That first day, he met Charlie, a 12-year-old beagle with cloudy eyes and a slow gait. They walked side by side in comfortable silence. Harold laughed when Charlie stopped to sniff every blade of grass. The shelter staff thanked him profusely, but he felt like the one receiving the gift. Helping others, he discovered, was the surest way to feel helpful. It made the world feel just a little more connected. It reminded him that he still had something to give. And the fifth thing Harold did was speak kindly to himself. This, perhaps, was the hardest. For a long time, his thoughts had been filled with guilt, regret, and sorrow. He judged himself for feeling weak, for being alone, for not doing enough. But slowly, day by day, he changed the voice in his head. When he spilled the milk, he chuckled and said, Well, Harold, at least the floor is clean now. When he looked in the mirror and saw his sagging skin and tired eyes, he whispered, You're still here. That's something. He started ending each day by writing down one thing he was proud of, even if it was just, I got out of bed. And with that practice came healing. He realized that strength wasn't about pretending you're not hurting. It was about being gentle with yourself while you put the pieces back together. Months passed. Harold still lived alone. The house was still quiet, but he didn't feel hollow anymore. His mornings had rhythm. His afternoons had purpose. His evenings had warmth. Sometimes a phone call from Janice, sometimes a visit from a neighbor, sometimes just the satisfaction of knowing he'd made it through another day with dignity. He looked out the window one night, the stars flickering in the dark, and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness, not yet, but strength. It was quiet and steady, like the roots of an old oak tree, and it was his.